So now we are on our last clients, Wayne and Anne, and we're going to go through their solutions. We're going to do a few take-home messages, and then we're going to wrap it up. So if you remember, Wayne was diagnosed with erectile disorder. He also has experienced premature ejaculation as well as delayed ejaculation. His partner, Anne, attended the second session and then beyond with him. She said that she has finished treatment for cervical cancer, and vaginal intercourse has been very painful for her ever since. But she also wants to have more intercourse as her goal with less pain. Another element is that Wayne is interested in BDSM and is thinking about how he can bring that into the partnered sexual space. So the first area that we want to look at here is on the male orgasm and erectile issues. So the first thing to talk about with these issues with men is to really myth bust a lot of ideas that are out there about how men are supposed to perform sexually. And that they're supposed to also perform sexually kind of no matter what. It doesn't matter how bad of a day they had, how sick they are. The expectation is that you perform with rock hard erections and that you have a ejaculation at exactly the time that you wish to. So we would talk about how a lot of those assumptions or expectations are unrealistic, are not physiologically indicated. One of the things that I say to men is that these three issues really map onto our stress response very well: fight, flight, or freeze. So if we are in a fight response, premature ejaculation. If we are in a flight response, then we are with erectile disorder. And if we are in a freeze response, then we might be dealing with delayed ejaculation. So the reason for me to tell these or to do some of this psychoeducation with men is that to tell them that their body is doing exactly what it is supposed to do if it is undergoing stress, which means your body is not supposed to be able to have blood flow to the penis if your brain is detecting threat elsewhere that must be attended to. So you're not supposed to get an erection if there is a stress response happening in the body. The body does not want to go into a sexual experience unless everything else is safe. Sex is a luxury item for humans, especially in a biological way. If we are trying to if we are having sex and we don't stop because a bear is nearby, we're going to get eaten, and none of those people survived. So those of us who saw a bear while we were having sex and stopped and then went over and protected ourselves and prioritized safety over sexuality, well, that's how we got more human beings, and that's where evolution would have driven us. So we want to do some education around that to normalize it for men. And then a lot of men are really going to want to see some techniques. So Angela has provided a couple of handouts from Michael Metz, one on ejaculatory control. So that is on dealing with premature ejaculation, and then erectile or erections, how to manage erections versus managing ejaculation. So both of those handouts will give some pretty good ideas of where you can go with clients to explore, because we don't know exactly which ones are going to work for the clients. We might introduce them to the stop-start technique. Say, okay, every time you get close to an orgasm, you stop and you wait 30 seconds. And then you can go back, or there can be lots of variable ways of doing the stop-start technique. One that I've had particular success in is helping guys look at their arousal levels on a scale of 1 to 10. And then they really write down and know what a 5 means, what a 6 means, what a 7 means. And then they're able to reflect when they're in that experience of, oh, I'm at an 8, time to bring it back down to a 6 so that I don't go up to a 10. Or the other way, I'm at a 2, how do I get myself up to a 5 here? So being self-reflective of what the body is experiencing, and then using some cognitive processes to shift into different arousals. Of course, that only really works when there is a comprehensive understanding of what is arousing and what's not. So that can take men some time to figure that out, how they can regulate that arousal level for themselves, to either control their ejaculation or to help promote their erections. Pelvic floor exercises I use with all 3 of these, or I will give them a handout on pelvic floor exercises, and then I might refer them to a pelvic floor physiotherapist who can actually help them implement that. But the pelvic floor physios that I've talked to have found success with all 3 of these sexual issues for men in doing pelvic floor exercises. The other thing is that we do have to be careful that that the penis is not acting as a canary in a coal mine, and telling and suggesting to us, like with a lack of erections, that could be an issue around diabetes. So there's definitely an importance to making sure that our clients have had a physiological assessment by a physician. Make sure that there's nothing else going on there, because psychologists, therapists, we can't really control the amount of testosterone that is flowing in our client's body. We can help them psychologically, but we might need medical help for some of the other factors that might be a part of this too. So that's Wayne. Now we're going to look at a bit more of Anne's problems, which she's stating as genital pelvic pain and penetration, as well as the substance medication-induced sexual disorder, which is referring to her cancer treatments, which have likely changed some of the lubrication that might happen vaginally. And so psychoeducation on different lubrication options might be very helpful. Adjusting psychologically to a new sensations, a new body, as it were. Grieving the old sensations that we might have had, kind of coming to terms with what our new reality might look like. Really also normalizing that cancer treatment is going to have impacts on your sexuality, and that is totally normal and totally understandable. So we might also do a pelvic floor physio referral for her as well. With this couple, Wayne and Anne, the importance of defining sex looks to be fairly high, because she wants more intercourse, even though it's painful. She wants it to not hurt as much. But I think that with this couple, they might really benefit by getting ideas about other sexual activities that are not just around intercourse, and maybe exploring and helping them understand more of what they might like that's not intercourse, so that they have options. Sometimes intercourse becomes off the table at different points in time or in our lives, and that's okay. We need to have something else to buffer some of that, to still feel that connection and bond. So then the last part of that is really saying no. And so I'm saying no to intercourse, and what might I say yes to? So instead of like intercourse or nothing, what else? So we might assume that it's intercourse, but if that's off the table, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater, and let's make sure that there's other options there that a couple can discuss. So let's look a little bit more at the sexual vocabulary part for Wayne and Anne. One of the things that we notice in their presentation is that they might have a lack of education around certain sexual issues. One of them for sure is arousal non-concordance. So arousal non-concordance, Emily Nagoski is going to explain that in this video. But it's really important to make sure that our clients understand, you know, some of the reasons why they might be experiencing discordance between how they think and what their body is doing, and that's not a threat to the person, but there's an understandable reason as to why that's happening. So I'll let Emily Nagoski talk a bit more about arousal non-concordant. The last area not the last area actually for Wayne and Anne, but the last one on this slide is probably to have a good discussion with them about the good enough sex model, what that means for them, what their expectations are of what sex is going to look like. And then I would move them again into some of the intimacy building skills, which are similar to the pizza metaphor that we've used. This would also be potentially how Wayne could explore kink with Anne, and what they might share and what they might disagree with or see differently. So Angela had sent the yes, no, maybe list from Sunny Megatron, which is a pretty decent list. There's a bunch of, you know, kind of similar lists like that that are out there to help clients. Like even the Gottmans have a card deck as an app to help couples explore what they like and what they don't like. The one that I've recently discovered is this Mojo Upgrade website. And so you go on the website and it asks you all of the questions about what you might be into in different areas. You do all of that. You pass the computer to your partner. Your partner does the same thing. And then the report that you get after is all of the ones that you matched up on. So it's kind of like, it's like Tinder for like sexual communication and consent. So you then look at what might be in play, like in a general way, or maybe what might be in play like today or tonight. You can match up and then have a conversation about, oh, I didn't know you might be interested in that, or you've really been wanting that. It'll help to stimulate a conversation about where is the sexual template for both people, and so that we can really understand it for ourselves and know what we're doing in the relationship together. So I would recommend that one for couples, Mojo Upgrade. This one is the last one for Wayne and Anne. And I wanted to bring up sexual shame with them because I'm curious about the influence of patriarchy on Anne's sexuality. One of the things that that may occur in terms of Anne's development was that she was in a conservative or religious household, and that can provide a lot of sexual shame. If there's a strong male influence, like her father running it like a military kind of situation, then I think I'm wondering, you know, is there any influence here of patriarchy on Anne's sexuality? And so I would even show them both this video And this is from Star Wars. It's Han Solo and Princess Leia. And I use this video to illustrate the assumptions that patriarchy makes about female sexuality. And well, let's watch it first, and then I'll talk a little bit more about the issues with it and how that might cause a good discussion with clients.
Hey, Your Worship, I'm only trying to help.
Would you please stop calling me that?
Sure, Leia.
You make it so difficult sometimes.
I do, I really do. You could be a little nicer, though. Come on, admit it, sometimes you think I'm all right.
Occasionally, maybe, when you aren't acting like a scoundrel.
Scoundrel? Scoundrel? I like the sound of that.
Stop that.
Stop what?
Stop that. My hands are dirty.
My hands are dirty, too. What are you afraid of?
Afraid?
You're trembling.
I'm not trembling.
You like me because I'm a scoundrel. There aren't enough scoundrels in your life.
I happen to like nice men.
A nice man.
Very nice.
Sir, I isolated the reverse power flux coupling.
So C-3PO didn't didn't really matter in that, but what I think is really essential to understand there is what is the impression that kids in the 80s got watching that? What ideas did they have about relationships from that? It seems like in there, the man, Harrison Ford, seems to know what Princess Leia wants before she does. And he actually knows that she wants him, even though she doesn't. Even though she says stop, he still persists, as if it's like a soft no that she's providing that just tells him, oh, I've just got to work harder to round the bases here and get to first or second base. So if we have a generation of kids who have watched this, been exposed to it, and think that this is a good model of sexuality, or that as a man you need to push through, you don't listen to the no. As a woman, like, what, you don't get a say here, doesn't matter, and you don't really know what you want anyway. The man knows better. There's a lot of problems with this scene to me, and yet I think it so embodies the patriarchal attitudes that most of us grew up with learning about with sexuality, and that most people wouldn't bat an eye at a clip like this, certainly like not in the 80s and 90s. And now it doesn't look so good. She's not providing consent at all. In fact, she's been pretty firm about non-consent, and yet this love story between the two of them is celebrated as part of movie history. So this might be a way to talk to the couple about, what do you think, sexuality looks like, or what are you expecting? This is very much in line with the traditional gender roles, sexual style that Barry McCarthy talked about. Is this what you want? Does this work, this kind of power dynamic? Or is this not something that works? Or what I see most frequently is that men still want to have this sexual style because they feel powerful and privileged, and women are not looking for that, and actually are experiencing that as traumatic or maybe even abusive when men are trying to force their way through this like this. So for Wayne and Anne, I might recommend Coping with Erectile Dysfunction and Coping with Premature Ejaculation. That's both Michael Metz and Barry McCarthy again. When Sex Hurts, so Andrew Goldstein and others, this is a pretty comprehensive one, and really the message has to be, sex should never hurt unless you want it to. And so pushing through it, if it feels like it hurts, or that kind of obligatory sex, does not help. And so often I feel like I'm talking to clients and begging them to say no more often. Say no, please, please stop having this obligatory sex. But the truth of it is that they feel like they're between a rock and a hard place. They're trying to prioritize the relationship and the other person, and they're sacrificing themselves, which might be an important adaptive decision for them in that context. So really need to explore and talk about this, because sex should not hurt unless we want it to. The last recommendation on here for books it's called Perv. It's by Jesse Bering. This is a great book on all the different like sexual, what they used to call deviations or perversions. Perversions is, very old nomenclature around this. But what they talk about is some of the science, some of the research around it, and they attempt to normalize it. And give us more education around how often does this stuff happen. It might surprise most people to hear that like 1 in 9 men have had bestiality fantasies. And that might be very distressing for some men and not so much for others. So just want to give them some psychoeducation and even some bibliotherapy sometimes to help them outside of our sessions.